And today I want to talk about a concept called progressive overload, which you may have heard of if you've done strength training, lifting weights, being an athlete, trying to build an aesthetic physique. It's something that's very powerful and something you can actually apply to so many other areas of your life. So this is why I stress the importance of going to the gym, being fit, treating yourself like an athlete. Because if you can be successful in that domain, you could be successful in any other area within your life. Okay. And if you haven't heard of this concept, really what happens is you have a certain level of fitness, right? So let's say you go to the gym and you can only bench press 100 pounds, right? That's the current level of fitness that you're at, right? And so you go to the gym for the first time, you bench 100 pounds, let's say for 5 reps, okay? The next time you go to the gym to apply this concept of progressive overload, right, which is increasing the amount of load of, let's say, the weight, the weights, the intensity, and the volume, right? So let's say you go to the gym and you do 105 pounds for 5 reps, right? And you do that, and then the muscle starts to adapt your level of strength. Let's say maybe you get a slight increase in muscle, and you go to the gym next time, you may do 115 pounds for 5 reps, for example. And you keep applying this concept of progressive overload and slowly level up in increase in level of strength over time. Okay. And that's the concept that a lot of athletes take, lifters, bodybuilders. And if you keep applying that level of progressive overload in your life, you can be successful in many other areas, right? So another example, right? You can apply this to, finance, social skills, relationships, business, anything that you can think of, right? And so a good example of how I've actually applied this within my life, within the realm of personal finance, was me getting out of debt and starting to gain momentum and building a positive net worth and some wealth through myself through investing and also increasing my income. Okay, so when I graduated, university, I had around $40,000 worth of student loans, and I was looking at it, I was like, damn, this kind of sucks, right? I have a negative net worth, so I gotta find a way to crawl out of it. And so what I had to do was, first, I actually made my situation even worse. So at that time, I was looking to build some businesses, and I did the rookie mistake of taking out business debt, so personal loans, credit cards to fund the business activities, and the businesses didn't work out. So I actually got into even more worse of debt. I got into $60,000 worth of debt, and to get out of it, I had to essentially start at my baseline, right? So my version of the benching of 100 pounds within the context of finance was just being able to pay the minimum payments, right? So that's where I was at, okay? And so to progressively overload on trying to get out of debt and getting in a better financial situation, I found one of the payments that I had to make, and I would just increase my payment by, let's say, $100 more than the minimum payment, okay? And by being able to do that consistently, I was able to then increase it even more. And then over time, as my income started to increase through getting better within my career, I got into tech sales. I started getting better at, my job, getting more commissions. So I had more disposable income to pay down on these debts. And then over time, I was able to kind of snowball and accelerate the amount of debt payments I made over time. So I started off very basic, right? Just paying the minimum payments, then increasing the amount of payments I made on one bill, and then on another, and then on another. And it got to the point where I was able to essentially make double the amount of payments I was able to make each month. And then even to the point where I was able to take my commissions from my software sales job and apply these large lump sum payments on these debts. And then now it's at to the point where I now am debt free, right? 3-4 years later, I'm now debt free. And I'm actually now able to save and invest around 20%, sometimes up to 40% of my income each month into savings and investments to now build wealth for myself, right? And this all didn't happen overnight. It all happened because I applied the concept of progressive overload, right? So I started off in a very basic situation of like, okay, can I just pay the minimum, right? Can I not make my situation worse? Can I just pay the minimum and not get into any more debt and just pay what I need to today, and then find ways. Okay, well, I can add a little bit more to this bill, a little bit more to this bill, and then okay, well, what's the next step for progressive overload for me? It was, okay, how can I make larger down payments on my debt? And in order to do that, I had to increase my income, right? And so in order to do that, how can I progressively overload on improving my income, right? Getting better within my career. How can I get better at sales? And so I found all these different ways to slowly and incrementally get better every single day to then make my financial situation a lot better, to now to where I'm at today, where I'm debt free, and then I'm saving a large portion of my take home pay into savings and investments, right? So that's one way how I've applied what I've learned in, the concept of progressive overload in the gym, or even, during my life as a track athlete, applying that to my career and my finances. So you can apply that to, any area. It doesn't have to be finances or just within fitness or in sports. It can be something like within your mental health, for example. So let's say your current baseline is, you're slightly depressed, you're anxious, or you're dealing with a lot of insecurities, or some general mental health, low mental health, right? A next step would be so, okay, well, I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna meditate for 5 minutes today, and I'm gonna journal a little bit of gratitude and write 5 things that I'm grateful for today, so you can try to program and orient your brain to something slightly more positive than your brain just automatically running through the negative thoughts, right? And then let's say the next week you try 10 minutes of meditation per day, right? Maybe you combine that with going for a walk outside in the sun for 15 minutes, and then keep continuing adding to it and doing a lot of these things that will help you improve your mental health, right? And you can kind of stack all these different things. And it's not like you just went from, okay, I'm depressed and anxious today, to, oh, I'm just super happy-go-lucky person with great mental health. No, you started off with something small and you slowly added these different things in over time. And now if you continue with that concept of progressive overload with your mental health, I guarantee if you look forward a year from now, your mental health will be in a completely different place. And I think that's the issue that a lot of us have when we're on our journey of trying to improve in these different areas of our life, right? So we might be starting at level 1, and then we're going online, we're going to Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and we're seeing all of these different people that are at level 100, and we're beating ourselves up for being at level 1 when all we need to do is just do the next step, the next progressive overload step to hit level 2. And that within itself is progress. And all you really just need is momentum, right? And I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot by trying to compare ourselves and trying to immediately go to level 100, right? So like, just a perfect analogy for this is, if you were to go to the gym with a friend, right, and he was just starting off, right, and he can only bench 100 pounds, it wouldn't make sense to, for the next gym session, you'd be like, all right, bro, well, you're gonna bench 200 pounds. We're gonna bench 2 plates, 225. No, it wouldn't make sense. Like, it's completely asinine. You wouldn't do that, right? You'd be like, hey, bro, like, all right, let's add 2.5s on the side. Let's do 105 for 5 next time, right? That makes more sense, right? And so I think we just lose this type of concept in other areas of our life. Like, we want to be millionaires tomorrow. We want to be freaking jacked tomorrow. We want to be, super smart and intelligent in this area of business tomorrow. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. Like, you have to go through the levels, right? And so it's just a reminder that, progressive overload is not just something that happens within the gym. It's something that you can apply to in all areas of your life. Okay. So keep that in mind. Just something I wanted to, to kind of, reinforce, and, it's just been something that's been really powerful within my life, and I hope that it's something that you can apply to yours. So I'll see you later. Cheers.